Good day to everyone. This is my report, Chapter 9, about instrumentation. This will be the topic that I will be discussing today. Number one is validity and reliability of a research instrument, the validity of an instrument, and the reliability of the research instrument. Validity and reliability of a research instrument. The quality of instrument used in research is very important, since the conclusions drawn from the findings of a study are based on the data collected. For inferences drawn from the study to be valid, the research instruments must be valid and reliable. Validity of an instrument. Validity refers to the appropriateness, meaningfulness, and usefulness of inferences a researcher makes on the data they collect. A research instrument is valid when it measures what it intends to measure. Researchers should make sure that any information collected through the use of instrument serves the purpose for which it is closed. So there are three kinds of validity of an instrument. Number one, content validity. Number two, criterion-related validity, and construct-related validity. So number one, content validity. An instrument has content validity if the content and format of an instrument appropriately covers the topics and the variables intended to be studied and the items adequately represent the subject to be assessed. The content and format of the instrument must be consistent with the operational definition of the variables. The key element in content validity is the adequacy of sampling of items that are included in the instrument. Content validation is intended to determine if the items contained in an instrument comprise an adequate sample of the content which it is supposed to represent. How to determine content validity? A common way of determining the content validity of an instrument is by having one or more individuals look at the content and format of the instrument and judge whether or not they are appropriate. The person who will be asked to look at the instrument should be able to render an intelligent judgment or an expert's opinion on the adequacy of appropriateness of the content and format of the instrument. So, jury validation. It is the process in which two or more individuals evaluate the instrument. Number two, criterion-related validity. An instrument has criterion-related validity if a score obtained by an individual using a particular instrument is significantly associated with a score he or she obtains on another instrument or another measure known as the criterion. How to determine criterion-related validity? To determine the criterion-related validity of an instrument, a researcher can compare the answers or responses of the subjects or respondents in the instrument being evaluated with the responses in another instrument, called the criterion. For example, if one wants to measure academic performance of student, he or she can get the student's general average in all academic subjects and compare this to his college entrance examination score, which can be the criterion variable. And lastly, number three, construct-related validity. Construct-related validity refers to specific psychological constructs or characteristics being measured with the instrument and how well these constructs explain the differences in the behavior of individuals. So how do we determine construct-related validity? First, clearly define the variable. Second, formulate a hypothesis based on theory. And third, testing the hypothesis both logically and empirically. For example, a researcher who plans to use a questionnaire to measure the level of aspiration of students wants to use the construct-related validity approach to validate his or her instrument. First, the researcher defines level of aspiration. then formulates a hypothesis and presents a theory on why level of aspiration of different individuals vary. Then, the researcher administers the questionnaire and determines variations in the response of the different groups or categories of respondents. Another example, a researcher might theorize that economic deprivation can challenge an individual to aspire for a better life. Based on this theory, the researcher might hypothesize that students from low-income families will more likely have higher aspirations than those who belong to high-income families. The researcher then prepares a questionnaire that will generate information on family income and level of aspiration of the students. After administering the questionnaire, the researcher analyzes the data. If the results shows that indeed students from low-income families, then this can be one evidence of the construct validity of the instrument. Then, reliability of the research instrument. Reliability refers to the consistency of the responses or the scores obtained by an individual in a test or research instrument administered twice. For example, in a test in math, a student is expected to get a high grade in the second administration if his or her score in the first is high. Reliability of this test can also be determined if two forms of the test can be prepared and the scores of the students in the two forms can be compared. So this is where my report ends. Thank you for listening. Have a great day and God bless.